Good morning and welcome to the Killik & Co market update. We had some rather unexpected news yesterday with the resignation of our Chancellor, and he's now been replaced with Rishi Sunak. Sunak is relatively young at 39 years old, but he does have a very impressive CV, and he does seem to be regarded as a rising star within the Conservative Party. Now, there is a budget scheduled for the 11th of March, which doesn't really give him much time to put new plans in place. So I think there are some question marks over whether that budget will still go ahead on the planned date. Now, really, we're waiting to see what kind of plans he has for the UK government finances. And I think he'll probably be quite torn between spending more on infrastructure and other major projects and not increasing government debt by huge amounts more. Here's a chart showing government debt over the last few years. You can see it has been steadily rising, and it's currently over £1.8 trillion, so really quite a huge number, and it's equivalent to about 84% of UK gross domestic product. So likely he won't want to be increasing that by a huge amount more. So at the moment, we're really waiting to see what he will do. His predecessor, Sajid Javid, was referred to by some as Chino, Chancellor in name only, i.e. he didn't have a huge amount of independence regarding his own decisions, so perhaps it's questionable whether his replacement will have that independence himself. So really we'll be waiting over the next few days for a bit more clarity on how this is going to play out. And another surprise this week was the fact that BP's new chief executive has announced that the company will plan to be carbon neutral by the year 2050. Now, we know that at the moment this is something that consumers and investors feel very strongly about, and we have seen lots of companies and governments around the world pledging to become carbon neutral. However, it is somewhat surprising to see such a major oil and gas company making this pledge, and at the moment we're really not quite sure exactly what BP is going to do in order to meet this target. At the moment, the vast majority of BP's profits and revenues come from oil and gas, so they're going to have to go through a huge transition in order to make themselves carbon neutral. If you have a look at this chart here, you can see the share price of BP over the last year, and you can see it has been very weak indeed. The main part of the reason for that is the fact that the oil price has declined, and some of that is due to the spread of the coronavirus outside of China. We know that a number of Chinese factories have had to close down, and that's really hit demand for oil, and that's really brought down the price of oil over the course of 2020. However, I do think another reason for this decline in the BP share price is the fact that investors seem much less keen to invest in fossil fuels companies, and they're moving much more towards companies that are involved in more sustainable activities. So it's not surprising that BP has made this announcement in order to please its investors. So we'll really have to wait for more clarity over exactly how BP is going to make itself carbon neutral. And finally this week, Mastercard has announced it has been granted approval to set up a bank card clearing business in China. More approvals are still needed, but this is still a very exciting step for Mastercard. And this comes after the Phase 1 trade deal between the US and China that encouraged China to open up its financial markets to overseas companies. Now, the value of transactions going through Chinese markets every year is thought to be in excess of $27 trillion. So this payments market really is a huge opportunity for payments companies all around the world. So this is a great opportunity for Mastercard, and we have no doubt that other payments companies such as Visa and American Express are very hot on Mastercard's heels. So we'll just have to wait and see whether Mastercard gets these final approvals in order to help it access one of the largest payments markets in the whole world. And looking at the week ahead, we'll be waiting for more clarity from our new Chancellor as to where he plans to take government finances, and we'll be waiting to see if the planned budget will be going ahead as planned on the 11th of March. That's it from us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.